Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another video. It's another Friday. Welcome or welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. Where have you been? We've been waiting for you. If this is not your first time on this channel, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. So, this is another week. If you've been following, you know that we concluded a series last week. If you've not watched that series, please go back and watch it. Just pause here and go and watch that series. It's in a playlist, Lessons from the Life of Jesus. I know that you will enjoy it and you will learn a lot from it. Okay, so PSA, public service announcement. There's a new video on this channel every Friday. So every Friday, check back here for a new video. Okay, let's jump right into our tale for today. This video is going to be like a chit chat, just a convo. So I want you to talk about this in the comment section. Give your replies, give your responses. Okay, so I remember I had done something very public. God asked me to do a specific thing, and I did it. And one day, after doing it, I think a day after doing what God had told me to do, one of my friends or somebody that I know, let's go with acquaintance, yes, let's go with acquaintance, approached me and was asking, oh, why did you do this thing that you did? And obviously, I told her why. Because God asked me to do it, and I started to just, go into details of how God had just been, preparing my mind for it and just helping me before I finally did what I did, or before I finally took the step that I took. And she was like, oh, okay, that's great. But this thing that you're saying, you can tell me that I'm a Christian, a fellow Christian like you. But what will you tell people, like generally, if somebody just asks you on the road, why did you do this particular thing? What will you tell people? And I was very confused because I'm like, why can't I tell people the same thing I just told you? Like the fact that I'm doing this or I did this because God said to. Like that was my confusion. And she just started to explain. You might not, if you say this thing or if you say God said you should do it to people, some people might not really understand, or some people might not, may just find it, a bit weird and everything. And I was like, okay, I understood here from my perspective. And after we just left, I started to think about it, and I was like, oh Lord, what do I actually say when people ask me why did I do this particular thing, or what response should I give, seeing as I've just been informed that I shouldn't say God told me to do it. And as I was just thinking about it, what should I say? Should I say, oh, I did this because I like it, or should I say I did this because I just felt like doing it? Like what should my response be to that kind of question? And the Holy Spirit was just like, why do you have to lie? Like, why do you have to say a reason that is not the reason? The reason that you did this was because I told you to. Like, and it's as simple as that. You should be able to boldly say, I'm doing this, or I did this, or my actions are directed by the fact that God said to. It is the direction of the Holy Spirit, or it is the direction that I received from above. You don't need to be, that's what the Holy Spirit was saying. You don't need to be looking for a reason that people will easily understand, or a reason that people will easily accept. And then subsequently, I started studying the life of Paul, and I realized just how bold a person Paul was. I could imagine Paul being the one in that conversation and somebody asking him, Paul, why did you do this thing that you did? Paul would literally say, I'm doing it because of God. I'm doing it because this is the example that Jesus has said. Or I'm doing it because God has sent me to do this. Paul will not care whether you understand, or whether it will sound okay, or whether it will sound weird. He wouldn't care. Like, so why? I just kept asking myself, after the Holy Spirit has spoken to me, why did I feel like why did I agree with the fact that, oh, I shouldn't say I'm doing this, or I shouldn't say I'm taking this action because God told me to? And it just had me thinking. Like, I started to look at life generally and how a lot of us, how sometimes maybe you want to go somewhere together with your friends or with a group of people, and that spirit the Holy Spirit just says, don't go. But when you tell your friends you don't want to go, you don't say the Holy Spirit instructed me not to go. You say something like, I don't just feel like going, or something came up. And in as much as I'm not saying it's wrong or it's a lie, but that's why I said that this particular video is going to be like a conversation. Why exactly do we feel like we have to make up something? Like, why do we have to? Why can't we just come direct and say, I'm doing this because God asked me to. I'm not going because the Holy Spirit said I should not go, or I'm going to do this thing that I'm about to do because God asked me to do it. I don't have to explain to you. Like, why do we feel like if you don't go into detail, even when we go into details, people don't have to understand. And this means to this particular verse. Let's read it. It's Philippians 1. It's Paul. It says, according to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with boldness as always, so now also Christ shall be magnified in my body, whether it be by life or by death. Now here what Paul was talking about was how his life is just dedicated to living for God, for Christ. Whether he dies is to the glory of God, whether he lives to the glory of God. But what just came out to me here is how he said not being ashamed in anything, but doing everything with boldness. I shouldn't be ashamed to say God said to do this. I shouldn't be ashamed to say my steps are directed by God. We are under God. Like that centurion told Jesus, I'm also a man under authority, so I understand you speaking a word and it coming to pass. We are under authority. We shouldn't be ashamed to let the world know that my steps, my actions are directed by somebody. I'm not just doing the things I'm doing just for myself. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. We should be able to say, God is in control of my life. I'm under this particular authority and I'm not ashamed to publicize it. It's just like in an organization, your boss asks you to do something. When you do it, somebody is asking why you're doing it. You don't feel ashamed or bad to say, because my boss asked me to do it. So why do we feel weird when it now comes to the things of God? God says do something, but you feel like, how am I going to tell people? Right? Most people say, why am I doing this? Nah, we should not be bothered by what people will think or what people will say. Whether they understand it or they don't understand it does not matter. You should get to that point where you don't mind people knowing that I'm under authority. I'm under the authority of God. God directs my path, He orders my steps, and He is the one that guides my actions. So that's our lesson for today. I hope that you learned something. If you did, please give this a thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend it to other people. Subscribe and hit the bell button so that you'll be notified every Friday where a new video is uploaded. See you next week Friday.